Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। श्रीमद् भगवद गीता एज इट इज की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। सामवेद गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। वांछा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिंधुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव भक्त वृंद की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So we started late today, and also for some reason the live stream is not working. So I'm just recording the class and I'll upload it later. So let's recite Bhagavad Gita Shloka. Welcome to today's session of Srimad Bhagavatam for all. We will recite Bhagavad Gita 9:22, and we won't discuss today much. We will directly go to the verse and to Srimad Bhagavatam because we don't have much time. Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 9, text 22. Anyone needs to go first? Yes, Usha Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranams, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to the assembled devotees.
Dandavat Pranam Mataji, Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Ananyas Chintayanto Mam Ye Jana Parupashate Tesham Nityabhiyuktanam Yoga Kshemam Vahamyaham. Translation. But those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. Thank you.
Thank you. Achyut Priya Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranams, all glories to the Lord. Jai Shri Prabhupada, Jai Bhakti.
Dandavat Pranam Mataji. Go ahead, Mataji.
Ananya Chintayanto Mam Ye Jana Parupasate Tesham Nityabhiyuktanam Yogakshemam Vahamaham. Translation. But those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. Thank you, Mataji. Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Saujanya Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranams, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to the assembled devotees. Ananyas Chintayanto Mam Ye Jana Parupasate Tesham Nityabhiyuktanam Yogakshemam Vahamyaham. But those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating upon my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack, I preserve what they have. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Anyone else need to go first? Then we just go in order. Achinta Dev Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glory to Srila Prabhupada, all glory to the assembled devotees.
Please accept my humble obeisances, Prabhuji. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Please repeat, Prabhuji. Ananyas Chintayanto Mam
Ananyas Chinto Yanto Mam
Ye Jana Paryupasate
Ye Janaha Pari Upasate
Tesham Nityabhiyuktanam
Tesam Nityabhi Yuktanam
Yogakshemam Vahami Aham.
Yoga Sheyam Vahamihaham. Translation. But those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Arunita.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Please accept my humble obeisances, Mataji. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Ananyas Chintayanto Mam Ye Jana Paryupashate Tesham Nityabhiyuktanam Yogakshenam Vayamyaham. Vahamyaham. But those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Arvinda will read little later, Mataji.
Okay. Inba Inia, Jai Shri Mataji and Jai Ganesh Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Ananyas Chintayanto Mam Ye Jana Paryupasate Tesham Nityabhiyuktanam Yogakshemam Vahamyaham. Translation. But those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have.
Yeah. Inia? Not ready?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Ananyas Chintayanto Mam Ye Jana Paryupasate Tesham Nityabhiyuktanam Yogakshemam Vahamyaham. But those who worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have.
Yeah, you missed one word. Always. Because there is Nitya Abhiyuktanam. So always has to be there. Yes.
Okay, Master.
Usha Mataji, you're raising your hand?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Okay, so go ahead.
Ananyashintayanto mam ye jana paripasate tesham nityabhyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. Translation. But those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have.
Yes. Jai Ganesh Prabhu and Jai Shri Mataji.
Mataji, they're
Okay,
not here.
no problem. Priyanka Mataji. Unable to read?
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Please accept my obeisances, Mataji. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Dhanyaschintayanto mam ye jana paryupasate tesham nityabhyuktanam yogakshemam vihamyaham. But those who worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating upon my transcendental, but those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating upon my transcendental form, meditating upon my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and preserve what they have.
Yes, very nice. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Saujanya Mataji recited already. Pragnya is there?
Little later, Mataji.
Sure. Suhrid? Shivkumar Prabhu?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Ananyas Chintayanto Mam.
Ananyashintayanto mam ye jana paryupasate tesham nityabhyuktanam yogam shemam vahamyaham. Translation. But those who are always worship me with exclusive devotion,
Exclusive.
exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I perceive what they
Reserve.
have.
Reserve.
Preserve what they have.
Yes.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Shri Prabhupada.
Dandvat Pranam Prabhuji, Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Ananya Chintayanto Mam Yojana Yejana Paryupasate Tesham Nityabhyuktanam Yogakshemam Vahamyaham. Translation. But those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else?
1 minute. Suhrid.
Okay, Suhrid. Okay. Pragya can recite in the meantime. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, Suhrid is here. Okay.
Hare
Go ahead.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Translation. But those who always worship me
Verse.
Let's read the words.
Ananyashintayanto mam ye jana paryupasate tesham nityabhyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. Translation. But those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack, and I preserve what they have.
Yeah, thank you. Arunita?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Ananyashintayanto mam yena
Ye jana. Ye jana.
jana paripasite tesham
Nityabhiyuktanam.
nityabhyuktanam yogashenam vahamyaham. Translation. But those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have.
Yes. Okay, Pragnya, you're ready?
No, Mataji, she just stepped away.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, I'll recite also in the meanwhile. Bhagavad Gita 9:22. Ananyas chintayanto mam ye jana paryupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. But those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. Last call. Anyone else? Oh, Madhava, I'm sorry. I missed Madhava. Go ahead.
Ananyastantayantoma yedana pariyapasate tesam nityabhiyuktanam yogaksema vahamyaham. But those who all worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have.
Yes, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we'll begin Srimad Bhagavatam at 7:30. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 19. Vamandev begs from Bali Maharaj. So yesterday we were reading the verse when Bali Maharaj said to Vamandev, "You're a small boy. You're in. Although you're talking, the words that you're speaking, they're wise. They're very learned, and they're very learned, and they are full of wisdom. Like a learned person. The words are very good, but at the same time, I can understand you're not very intelligent. Why? Because you're a small boy. That's why you don't have intelligence. You don't understand what is in your best self-interest. I'm such a wealthy person. I can give you a whole planet, a whole island, and you're asking only for 3 steps of land." So in response to that, Vamandev is saying, if somebody cannot be satisfied with 3 steps of land, if I won't be satisfied with 3 steps of land, I will not be satisfied with the entire, with all the 3 planetary systems, or you give me the whole Jambudvipa, I cannot be satisfied with that. And further, Vamandev is saying, that means what Vamandev said was that if your senses are not controlled, you can get everything in the 3 worlds, still you will not be satisfied. So we read this translation, and the purport also we read yesterday, but I just wanted to explain. One should be satisfied with whatever he achieves by his previous. Did we read this? One should be satisfied with whatever he achieves by his previous destiny.
We read, you are supposed to explain it.
Yes, Mataji.
Okay. One should be satisfied with whatever he achieves by his previous destiny, for discontent can never bring happiness. A person who is not self-controlled will not be happy, even with possessing the 3 worlds. Yeah. So one who is not satisfied, that means self-controlled. Satisfied means self-controlled, controlling the senses. One whose senses are not controlled, for him, how much ever you give, he will always want more and more. Because his senses are uncontrolled, he will not be satisfied. He will not be satisfied. He would always want more and more and more. So, what is the key to happiness? You should learn to be content with what you already have, because happiness is not really coming from how much you have. Happiness is actually coming from controlling the senses. You understand? It's not like you are supplying, there is demand and supply. The senses are demanding and you're supplying, then you're going to be happy? No. The senses have to be kept under control. How will you keep the senses under control? There are rules and regulations about what are permitted and what is permitted and what is not permitted. According to those rules and regulations, you decide what the senses will get. That is called controlling. And when you control the senses like that, then you can be satisfied with very little also, because you are controlling the senses. The senses are not controlling you. Okay. So one should be satisfied with whatever he achieves by his previous destiny. So yesterday we were discussing, like in Varnashram system, in the Vedic lifestyle, one is not endeavoring to improve his standard of living. That's not the goal at all. Whatever he gets by his previous destiny, he is content. Generation after generation, they live in the same place, in the same house. It's not that they're thinking, now I should get a bigger house and a bigger house. No, they live in the same house. and joint families, right? They live there only, generation after generation after generation. There's no question of discontent that we need more and more and more. We should all work for improving our economic situation. No. So let's read Srila Prabhupada's purport. If happiness is the ultimate goal of life, one must be satisfied with the position in which he is placed by providence. This instruction is also given by Prahlad Maharaj. I was just thinking, because we are reading this section, preparing for Nishinga Chaturdasi. So Prahlad Maharaj says there that um, as long as you're trying to be happy, you'll never be happy. He's telling his friends, as long as, if you really want to be happy, you should stop trying to become happy. And here we are thinking by giving more and more to our senses, we'll become happy, right? So if happiness is the ultimate goal of life, if you want to be happy in life, if that's your goal, then what is the key to happiness? One must be satisfied with the position in which he is placed by providence. This instruction is also given by Prahlad Maharaj. Sukham aindriyakam daitya deha yogena dehinam sarvatra labhyate daivad yatha dukkham ayatnataha. My dear friends, born of demoniac families, the happiness perceived with reference to the sense objects by contact with the body can be obtained in any form of life according to one's past fruitive activities. Yes? So we are thinking that I am able to make nice preparations in ghee fry and I'm eating. So I am better than the cats or dogs. Well, that's a very here they prepare foods for cats and dogs also. But whatever, right? The birds, right? They just eat some grains. But I am actually cooking them nicely, making into fancy food items, and I'm eating. So I'm better, right? That's the understanding, isn't it? We are better than the animals. And some people even go to the extent of saying animals are meant for my enjoyment, to kill them and eat them. That's why the animals were created. So, but what is the fact? What is the scripture saying? What are the types of enjoyment we have? Basically, it's eating, sleeping, mating, defending. Right? Defending is not an enjoyment. Well, some sense of security that gives you some pleasure. But eating, sleeping, and mating. Whatever pleasure you get by eating, what happens when you eat? Your hunger is satisfied, you get some taste, and you get some nourishment. Whatever is happening, whatever pleasure you're deriving by eating, whatever happiness you're getting by eating, the same happiness animals and birds also are getting by eating their food. It's not that because you're eating nice samosa, you're getting higher pleasure than what the cow is eating. When the cow is eating grass, the cow is experiencing lesser pleasure because it's not a nice fried stuff, it's just grass. No, the happiness, the contentment, the satisfaction that the animal is getting, the same thing you're also getting. Similarly, for sleeping, you may sleep on nice bed or whatever, but the relief that your body is getting, your mind is getting when you sleep, the same relief the animals are also getting, never mind they're sleeping on the ground. And same with mating. The pleasure is the same. It's not that I'm in a human body, so I'm getting more pleasure. That's what Prahlad Maharaj is saying here. That you are trying to become happy through sense gratification. But my dear friends, the happiness perceived with reference to the sense objects by contact with the body can be obtained in any form of life for which you're working so hard and even you're committing sinful activities to get that happiness. That happiness, even animal, any form of life can get that happiness. That is the principle of in this material existence. Eating, sleeping, mating, defending. This is what happens in all bodies. And all bodies get the same pleasure. When they eat, when they sleep, it's the same pleasure. It's not different. Under illusion, we think we are getting better pleasure doing in different ways. So that pleasure can be obtained in any form according to one's past fruitive activities. Now, why you get one particular body? Because of my past fruitive activity, karma, I am getting that particular body. Such happiness is automatically obtained without endeavor. We think that unless I work 8 hours a day, I cannot get food to eat, I will starve. But all the animals, birds, insects, they are living without working 8 hours a day. So the happiness of, you know, gratifying the senses is available in any form, and it is obtainable even without any endeavor. How? Just like we get distress also. We don't endeavor for distress. Don't we get distress? We don't want. Who wants? But still we get diseases. Still we get, uh, difficulties, anxieties, so many things we don't want, but still they come. In the same way, Shitoshna Sukha Dukkhada. Happiness and distress come like winter and summer seasons. You don't have to call them, you don't have to work for them. It will come. But under illusion, we are thinking, for happiness, I have to work, then I will become happy. This is Prahlad Maharaj's instruction, 763, Srimad Bhagavatam. This philosophy is perfect in regard to obtaining happiness. So if you want to be happy, just give up trying to become happy through sense gratification. Give up. The real happiness is described in Bhagavad Gita 6:1. Sukham atyantikam yat tad buddhi grahyam atindriyam vetti yatra na chaivayam sthitas chalati tattvataha. In the spiritually joyous state. So this is in the 6th chapter describing the Ashtanga Yoga system, where someone who has achieved the perfection of Ashtanga Yoga, right? He's reached the highest stage. What is the happiness he's experiencing, right? In the spiritually joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness and enjoys himself through transcendental senses, not material senses. Not material senses, through transcendental senses. So that happiness is not coming from material sense objects, because it's not experienced by material senses. It's happening through transcendental senses. Established thus means after getting that. So here specifically we are talking about somebody who realizes Brahman, right? Jivan Muktaha, in the final stage. So established thus, one never departs from the truth. What is that truth? Now he has realized Brahman. So one has to perceive happiness by the super senses. The super senses are not the senses of the material elements. Every one of us is a spiritual being, Aham Brahmasmi. And every one of us is an individual person. It's not like we merge into Brahman and then there's no individuality. No, we are all individuals and we are spiritual beings. We are not matter. Our senses are now covered by material elements. And because of ignorance, we consider the material senses that cover us to be our real senses. It's just like, winter time, let's say you wear gloves, like skin tight gloves, right? And then if somebody has never seen your hand and they think your hand is that color, it's like that. Something like that. So our senses are covered by material elements, and under illusion we are thinking this is my sense, but actually it's just a material covering. There is a real sense. The real senses are within the material covering. Dehinosmin yatha dehe. Dehi means the one who is inside the body, who has accepted the body. Dehinosmin yatha dehe. Within the covering of the material elements are the spiritual senses. Sarvopadhi vinirmuktam tatparatvena nirmalam. When the spiritual senses are uncovered, upadhi means you have this imposition. Remember I told you about artificial, you put a red cloth on a crystal and the crystal is now emitting red light. That means the redness of that crystal is not the inherent quality of the crystal. It is artificially imposed by covering it with a red cloth. Like that, the spirit soul who has his or its natural spiritual senses is now covered by material modes. And then whatever is coming out, right, because of being covered by material modes, what you're seeing is a designation which is imposed on the spirit soul. What is that designation? Now, for example, you have a subtle body and gross body. The gross body, you are fat, you're thin, you're dark, you're fair, you're Indian, you're American, you're intelligent, you're dull, you're beautiful, you're ugly, whatever. And also you are miser, you are, you're a spendthrift. So many different, all these are not the qualities of the soul. These are impositions, designations on top of the soul. But what is the soul? What is the soul? The soul has its senses, and the soul is eternally Jivera Swarupa Hoy Krishnera Nityadas. The nature of the soul is eternally a servant of the Supreme Lord. So Sarvopadi Vinirmuktam, when all these impositions on top are removed, Sarva Upadi, all Upadis, all impositions, Vinirmuktam, you become freed from all these impositions. Tat Paratvena Nirmalam. At that time, you actually are able to realize, you're able to see your true self with your spiritual senses. When the spiritual senses are uncovered, by these senses, we can be happy. That is real happiness. That is the happiness that's being talked about in this verse. Sukham atyantikam yattad. And that happiness is boundless. It's boundless, unlimited. The happiness which is experienced by the real spiritual senses, that is boundless. And that is real happiness. Satisfaction of the spiritual senses is thus described. Rishikena, Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Ruchate. So, how do you experience this happiness? How do you uncover the spirit, the real senses? How do you remove all these impositions on the spirit soul? By engaging the senses in the service of the master of the senses. So when we say Jivara Swarupa Hai Krishnera Nityadas, that means the eternal position of this of the spirit soul is to render service to the Supreme Lord. Naturally, my existence is meant for His service, and I have these senses, my real spiritual senses, they are meant for the service of the Supreme. He is the master of my senses. When my senses are engaged in His service, that is my natural constitutional position. Like the fish's natural constitutional position is in water. When the fish is in water, it is naturally happy. So when my senses are engaged in the service of the master of the senses, that is when all my artificial impositions will be removed, and that is when I will experience transcendental joy, which is natural for me. Okay? When the senses are engaged in devotional service to Hrishikesha, Hrishika means senses, Hrishika Isha means the master of the senses. So Hrishikena means with these senses, you serve Hrishikesha. Hrishikena, Hrishikesha, Sevanam. With Hrishika, you serve Hrishika Isha. With the senses, you serve the master of the senses, Sevanam. That is called Bhakti. What is Bhakti? Bhakti means with my senses, I serve the master of the senses. This is called Bhakti. When the senses are engaged in devotional service to Rishikesha, then the senses are completely satisfied. Without this superior knowledge of sense gratification, one may try to satisfy his senses, his material senses, but happiness will never be possible. So as long as you have this covering on your senses, material covering, and you're trying to satisfy your material, you're not serving, your senses are not serving the master, but you're trying to serve the senses directly by feeding them all types of sense objects. Are you going to become happy by that? It is never possible, Prahlad Maharaj says. It's never possible. You will not become happy. One may increase his ambition for sense gratification and even achieve what he desires for the gratification of his senses. But because this is on the material platform, he will never achieve satisfaction and contentment. That's the point. So it's just a matter of having Shraddha in this statement. When one develops strong faith in this, he will give up trying to become happy through sense gratification. And then he will now endeavor to serve Hrishikesha, because now he's convinced. What do you mean by Shraddha? Shraddha means full conviction. You're convinced about this fact. You may not have realized it yet, but you got full faith in it. By hearing the statements of Bhagavatam, by hearing the words of Prahlad Maharaj, you get full conviction that yes, this is not going to make me happy. There's no point. But even after hearing this, if I still go on with that type of life, that means my Shraddha is not yet developed. Why my Shraddha is not developing even after hearing? Because I have too many anarthas. I have such a big baggage of anarthas that in spite of hearing, still is not. Then what should I do? You should keep hearing again and again from sadhus like Prahlad Maharaj. You keep hearing again and again. Then what will happen? By the mercy, they will give their kripa, mercy. Then when you get the mercy of a sadhu, a powerful sadhu, all your anarthas can be kicked out and you can get full shraddha, full faith that yes, this world, this material things, this sense gratification cannot give me happy. And when you get that type of faith, then you will actually endeavor seriously for bhakti. Yes, Mataji, I'll just finish this last section. It's actually yesterday's verse, and then I'll take your.
No problem.
According to Brahminical culture, one should be content. See, this is Brahminical culture, right? And this Brahminical culture is destroyed by the Asuras. Asuras destroy this Brahminical culture. They don't want this. We see again and again. What did Hiranyakashipu do? He said, go and destroy all the cow pens. Go and destroy all the places where the Brahmins are performing their sacrifices. Kill the Brahminical culture. This is what Asuras do. Because when you don't have this culture, this Varnashram Dharma, specifically there in the translation itself, it is said. He's saying, go and destroy Varnashram Dharma. Because in Varnashram Dharma, naturally, there will be Brahminical culture, there will be cow protection, and these will foster Krishna consciousness. Asuras don't want this. So first of all, they will destroy. This is what the British did also in India. Destroy their Varnashram Dharma. Destroy their pride in this Vedic culture. So, according to Brahminical culture, one should be content with whatever he obtains without special endeavor. Everyone is endowed. When you take birth, you are endowed with certain, you are given to start with, right? To start your life with. You are given with a family, with something. You should be content with that, with whatever is coming, without any special endeavor. And then what should I use my energy for? If I'm simply satisfied, then I don't have to do anything. I'll just be lazy. No, the point is, don't endeavor for material prosperity, endeavor for spiritual advancement. Materially, you be satisfied with what is given to you according to your own past karma. You be satisfied with that. It doesn't mean you should not work at all. You work, but you work according to regulation. This is how much I will work. Not that if I work more, I will get more. No, that's not the principle. We see in the life of Srila Prabhupada's father, Srila Prabhupada says, he had his schedule of work, right? From this time to this time. And imagine, he's a shopkeeper. So who comes, who doesn't come, it's not in his hand. He's not going and advertising on the streets, come to my shop and this and that and, promoting it. No. He'll go and sit in his shop at scheduled time. Scheduled. That is also dharma. That's what is dharma. Dharma means you do it as a regulation, and dharma is also done for what? Samsiddhir haritoshanam. I do this dharma, so first of all, it has to be according to the injunctions of scriptures. How you will please the Lord if it is not according to scriptures? And Krishna says there are 4 types of dharma: chaturvarnyam maya srishtam guna karma vibhagasha. There is dharma for brahmanas, for kshatriyas, vaishyas, shudras. Let's take vaishyas here. Generally in the society, we find vaishyas or shudras only, right? Shudras means those who work for others. Vaishyas means who have their own business. You do your particular dharma in a regulated way, and that's not all day. That's not taking up all your energy. It's just part of your day. Most of the day is actually like, and you have, by the way, all 3 are dvijas: Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya. All 3 are dvijas. Dvijas means they do Sandhya Vandanam. Morning, noon, and evening, you do Sandhya Vandanam. That means you are organizing your day in such a way that throughout the day you are actually remembering the Lord, worshipping the Lord. And then in between, in that only, you'll be eating and you'll be working and you'll be everything else in that only. Family and everything, shopping, cleaning, everything happens in that. So the center of life is Krishna consciousness. And also you have some, and you don't think that unless I do this, I won't get my food. My food is coming from Krishna. But to show Krishna that I'm not lazy, I'm also making some endeavor, I do some work. Really, that's the mood of such a person. And of course, it doesn't mean he's lazy. He will work. He will go there, and during those hours, 2 hours, right? Until 10 o'clock, his father was at home. Huh? And then I think at 10 or I don't know, 10 or what time, I don't know. He, or maybe even afternoon, I think. He'll do puja, and then he'll go for an hour or two, and then he'll take lunch. For lunch, he'll come home. He'll take lunch, he'll take a nap and everything. And in the evening, again, he'll go for a few hours, he's there. And again, he'll come home, again, he'll do puja. Morning also, he'll do elaborate puja, 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 puja. And in between, so Prabhupada said, mostly he's doing puja, and in between, little bit he's working. So that is dharma. So when the Lord is satisfied, then everything will come. So in Brahminical culture, one should be content with whatever he obtains. It's not like a poor man is trying to become like a rich man. No. He's content with whatever he obtains without special endeavor, and should cultivate, use all his energy for spiritual consciousness. Then he will be happy. The purpose of the Krishna consciousness movement is to spread this understanding. Are we spreading this understanding now? Tell me. The purpose of the Krishna consciousness movement is to spread this understanding, that you simplify your lifestyle and use your time for Krishna consciousness. Are we spreading this understanding? Or are we getting this understanding? If we are not, then we should. That's why we have to read Srila Prabhupada's books. When we read Srila Prabhupada's books, we'll understand what is this movement about. Right? What is the understanding? You should be satisfied with what you get according to your karma, materially, and use your time to cultivate spiritual consciousness. So cultivating spiritual consciousness can be, of course, this is Krishna, Hare Krishna movement is a preaching movement. So we have to use our time in spreading also. First, we have to practice it ourselves, and whatever we are practicing, we share it with everyone else. This is this movement. People who do not have scientific spiritual knowledge mistakenly think that the members of the Krishna consciousness movement are escapists. You hear that also, right? Or you people don't work. You are simply lazy. People are giving donations and you're sitting and eating. You're not working hard. We are the people who are actually working hard, going and working all day and earning money. You simply take donations and you don't do anything. Lazy people. Who thinks like this? Those who don't have scientific spiritual knowledge. How the science of spiritual knowledge works, they will think like this. They think that the devotees are escapists, trying to avoid material activities. In fact, however, Prabhupada is saying, we are engaged in real activities for obtaining the ultimate happiness in life. This is the real activity. It's actually intelligence, somebody who's able to not do that work and he's spending all his time. Of course, you can also become lazy if you're not sincere, you're not serious. In the name of Krishna consciousness, if I simply, try to get easy life, we are not talking about that here. We're talking about someone who is seriously engaged in Krishna consciousness and is not interested in doing material activities. That person is not an escapist. He is engaged in the real activities for obtaining the ultimate happiness in life. If one is not trained to satisfy the spiritual senses, so again, coming back to our point, spiritual senses, right? Originally, we have spiritual senses, and the way to satisfy spiritual senses is to engage them in the service of the master of the senses, that is Krishna. If one is trained in this way to satisfy his spiritual senses and continues in material, if one is not trained to satisfy spiritual senses, that means if one is not trained in serving Krishna, rather he continues in material sense gratification, he will never obtain happiness. The whole purpose of our material sense gratification, why we do, because we think we will become happy. Not we think, we are convinced. If I can eat this, I'll become happy. If I can enjoy that way, I will become happy. Right? If I can get these clothes, I will become happy. Whatever. If I get that position, I'll become happy. But Shastra is saying, until and unless you train your senses to serve the master of the senses, you will never become happy. You will never obtain happiness that is eternal and blissful. You may get flickering and it will be taken away. It's like a drop of water in the desert. In the desert, you are thirsty. You are about to die out of thirst. And someone says, "Here, I have water." And he'll put a drop of water on your tongue. What will that drop do? It will make you mad, because it's not quenching your thirst, but it's making you hanker for more and more, and only one drop. So, like that, this material, we are hankering for happiness, and this material sense gratification, whatever little so called happiness it gives, it's not going to satisfy us. Rather, it's going to make us even more distressed. Srimad Bhagavatam 551 therefore recommends Tapo Divyam Putraka Yena Sattvam Shuddhed Yasmat Brahma Saukyam Tvanantam. So, what is this human life meant for? It is meant for austerity. It is not meant for sense gratification. It's meant for austerity. Means same thing, controlling the senses. Right? Controlling the senses. By Srila Prabhupada's mercy, he has given us very simple means of controlling the senses. Right? No meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, no illicit sex. But we should understand, my dear devotees, Srila Prabhupada has given us these four to tell us that it is important to control the senses. It doesn't mean now within that limit we'll try to look for sense gratification, right? We'll look for those foods which don't come under meat and which don't come under onion, garlic, or tea, coffee. And within that, let's try to enjoy. What other varieties are there? Let's get. The whole idea is to control the senses. That we have to grasp. Initially, it's okay. When somebody is coming from, full sense gratification, then you may tell them, "Oh, you simply have to give up this and this," and that's okay. Initially, that's okay. But that we shouldn't maintain that as a standard all the time. We should be moving forward, isn't it? So the whole idea is simplify on every level, individually, collectively. We should endeavor to minimize, we should try to control the senses. And of course, that's not our focus, is not just controlling the senses. Our focus is pleasing Krishna. But to please Krishna, controlling senses will help us. When someone who gets full, attachment for Krishna, then he doesn't have to worry about controlling the senses. Automatically they're controlled. But are we in that stage now that we have so much attraction for Krishna? I don't have to worry about controlling my senses. Can we say that? No. So then we should help ourselves, right? In order to get full attraction for Krishna, I'm having so many distractions. My mind is running here and there. So let me help, right? So control the senses. So that's the whole message in this purport. Vamandev is saying that a person whose senses are not controlled, he can never become happy. He won't be satisfied with how much ever material acquisition, material sense gratification you may give him. He will never become happy. He cannot become happy. But still, the power of Maya, illusion, is such, right? Again and again, she gives us various proposals. No, you do this and you'll become happy. If only you get that, you'll become happy. You try this and you try that, in the form of friends, in the form of so many different things, right? She's feeding us. So therefore, we have to hold on to Bhagavatam, the statements of devotees like Prahlad Maharaj. And that you should always compare it. When you hear something, what is Bhagavatam saying? Oh, my friend is saying this. Does this match with Bhagavatam? It does not. So we should be able to reject that which does not match with Bhagavatam. Hold on to Bhagavatam. That is called faith. That is called faith. You may not realize it yet, but you have faith and you hold on to that. And that faith, with that faith, you are actually entering into Ananya Bhakti. So one must practice austerity so that his existential position will be purified and he will achieve unlimited blissful life. So you cannot be happy. That's what Vamandev is saying. It's 8 o'clock. I know we didn't read today. I just covered what we read yesterday, but this was an important verse. But we can read maybe Bhagavad Gita and Lilamrita. Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is. Chapter 18, text 27. Please repeat. Ragi karma phala prepsur
Ragi karma phala
lubdho himsatmako shuchihi
lubdho himsatmako
harsha
shuchihi
shokanvitah karta
harsha shokanvitah karta
rajasaha parikirtitah.
rajasah
The
parikirtitah.
worker who is attached to work
The worker who is attached to work
and the fruits of work,
and the fruits of work,
desiring to enjoy those fruits,
desiring to enjoy
and who
those
is
fruits,
greedy,
and who is greedy,
always envious,
always envious,
impure,
impure,
and moved by joy and sorrow,
and moved by joy and
said to
sorrow,
be in the mode of passion.
is said to be in the mode of
Exactly
passion.
what we read just now, right? The worker who is attached to work and the fruits of work, desiring to enjoy those fruits, and who is greedy, always envious. Why is he envious? Because he wants to enjoy and he sees that someone else may take away his, or someone has more than what he has. Because his source of happiness is in the fruit. So he's impure and moved by joy and sorrow. Such a worker is said to be in the mode of passion. This is a typical fruitive worker. Purport. A person is too much attached to a certain kind of work or to the result because he has too much attachment for materialism or hearth and home, wife and children. Such a person has no desire for higher elevation in life. He is simply concerned with making this world as materially comfortable as possible. In the 7th chapter, 15th verse, Namam Dushkritino Mudaha. This is Mudaha, right? So he has no desire for higher elevation in life. He is simply concerned with making this world as materially comfortable as possible. He is generally very greedy and he thinks that anything attained by him is permanent and never to be lost. Such a person is envious of others and prepared to give anything wrong and prepared to do anything wrong for sense gratification. Therefore, such a person is unclean and he does not care whether his earning is pure or impure. He is very happy if his work is successful and very much distressed when his work is not successful. Such is the worker in the mode of passion. So we'll also read Srila Prabhupada Leelamrita. We already had enough discussion, so I'm not discussing anything further. It's 8:05. Srila Prabhupada Leelamrita. Continuation. So Srila Prabhupada put out this booklet, Easy Journey to Other Planets. Had been like a warm-up for his real work of presenting Srimad Bhagavatam. But now he was even more convinced of the need for books. To preach, he would have to have books, especially if he were to go to the West. With books, he could create a spiritual revolution. There was so much literature in the West, but Westerners had nothing like this, nothing to fill their spiritual vacuum. Although he wanted to give as much time as possible to Srimad Bhagavatam, he decided to continue with Back to Godhead by using excerpts from already existing book manuscripts as articles. Occasionally, however, he would write and print a new article. In Relevant Inquiries, he wrote, "We are just trying to make a humble attempt to save the human being by propaganda of Back to Godhead." Save the human being. This propaganda is not fictitious. If there is any reality at all, this propaganda of Back to Godhead is the beginning of that era of reality. Whatever else, anything else that's going on in this world, it's not reality. Save and accept Krishna consciousness. In A Godless Civilization, Bhaktivedanta Swami referred to Prime Minister Nehru's complaints about the misuse of public funds in the name of religion. You hear this a lot, right? Why people are spending so much money on building temples and this and that. So they say it's misuse of public funds. Bhaktivedanta Swami noted that although there were undoubtedly instances in which religious leaders were implicated in criminal offenses, yes, that did happen. If statistics were compared, the religious cheaters would be outnumbered by the political cheaters. Although Pandit Nehru had been right in warning of religious fraud, the warning could not be effective without a thorough reform of spiritual institutions. And that reform could be accomplished only with the cooperation of government leaders. Bhaktivedanta Swami quoted from his letter in which he had asked Prime Minister Nehru to take up the study of Bhagavad Gita. But as he informed his Back to Godhead readers, Pandit Nehru had never replied. Because of his lack of spiritual knowledge, he thought that this institution, the League of Devotees, might be something like the so many mathas and temples which have become the source of headache for the Pandit. Bhaktivedanta Swami charged that Pandit Nehru thought that any spiritual organization is a dungeon for accumulating public funds and then misuse it for questionable purposes. That means this was Pandit Nehru's opinion, that any religious organization is simply using public funds for for their sense gratification, in other words. So we will stop there. Thank you all so much for joining today. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveta Gaur
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna, everyone. Hare Krishna.